Okay, skipping some years ahead from 1999 to 2003, so I would have been in my early teens, and I'm pretty sure I didn't really write any reviews before this, but anyway, this is actually essentially a forum question in Hyper magazine. Hyper is a long-running Australian magazine devoted to video games. They're pretty well known. They don't really publish as much. I think they don't even publish anymore. And I was subscribed, to maybe 3-ish times, getting 12 magazines in the process. And during one of my subscriptions, they had a forum, which is the question, what is your favorite GameCube game to date and why? And you submit your answer, and they would hopefully publish it in the following magazine, or 2 magazines later, whatever it was. I do remember, initially, they did PlayStation 2 and the first Xbox, and then right after the Xbox One, they didn't have the GameCube one, and I was like, where's the GameCube one? And they said, oh, don't worry, it'll be featured in the next issue, which just so it turns out, was their 10th anniversary, 10-year anniversary issue as well, so I guess they wanted to leave it for that one, to, I guess, make the magazine special. Even though, when you think about it, maybe the question to celebrate 10 years could have been, what is your favourite game of all time? Okay, so, I think this is it. Okay, the spell was cast. Hyper, you should have seen... Why did I say dear Hyper? Oh well. You should have seen me when I saw this topic. I shouted so loud my dad looked surprised and my dog barked. That actually did happen, I think. I shouted because I love the little cube. I still do. The GameCube is a pretty good system. Anyway, enough about that. Thought you might like to hear it. On to the real answer. Okay. Out of all the 7 games I own, did I really own 7 games back in 2003? Oh yeah, I think it would have been. Quite a few of the games that would play down the line would also become classics. I don't think I had Wind Waker at the time, and that was also a classic released at the time. Although I love Wind Waker. So out of all the 7 games I own, I could pick just pick 2. Metroid Prime and Super Smash Bros. Melee. Sure, I play all 7, but I love those 2 most. Yeah, my 2 favourite GameCube games of all time. Well, 2 of, anyways. To sum it up, Metroid was a great single-player adventure experience. Okay. And Smash Bros. Has so many options that multiplayer battles became amazing and frantic. I like using that word, frantic. Okay. But in the end, I chose Metroid Prime, and for 2 reasons. If you watched my top 30 games of all time, or whatever video it was, I chose Metroid Prime as my favourite game of all time. Let's see in retrospect why that is. 1. Sometimes it's hard for me to find at least a friend to play the terrific Smash Bros. Sad, eh? Which I sometimes play on my own for Adventure Motor trophies. But I mean, Smash Bros. Melee was, and still is, a great multiplayer game, so I mean, what can you say about that, eh? But Metroid Prime is good for people who are on their own with the GameCube and like adventure games. So, 1, you have to have a GameCube. 2, you have to like adventure games. Okay. 2, Metroid had ideas that never ceased to amaze me. When I saw some reviews which told me what was included, I thought, this is the sort of adventure game I've been looking for. That is actually true. When Hyper and other magazines, or whoever, did Metroid Prime reviews, some of the things they described sounded really appealing to me, and I actually hadn't played any Metroid games for time. I only had heard of Samus from Smash Brothers. So, what do you know? And voila, that's French, it was. That makes me cringe a bit. And voila, that's French. Maybe that was a joke I borrowed from something. Some people may not have understood French if they kept on saying voila or something. Ugh, that makes me cringe. Even though the controls were awkward, they suited the mood well, I thought. What do you mean suited the mood? Okay. Like for example, how you use the D-pad and C-stick to switch visors and weapons. I actually still think that's pretty good, having 2 control functions almost separate to each other, to switch up, displays and whatnot. So I still agree with that. Even though some people might play the Wii version nowadays, but I still have a lot of nostalgia in some cases for the GameCube one. But whichever version I play, it's still my favourite game of all time. Well, I had to finish this review now. And imagine if the lock-on system hadn't been included. What? I had only played, the 3D Zelda games by that time, and I was like, wow, imagine if the lock-on system hadn't been included. Well, Super Metroid, which I didn't play until after the Metroid Prime trilogy, well, after the first Metroid Prime came out, didn't have a lock-on thing, aside from a diagonal thing, so But I mean, when you think about it, Metroid Prime needed a lock-on system. It was pretty good, rather than just aiming everywhere like a, like a crazy person or something. And the bosses were absolutely frightening, terrific, and the way each of them could be destroyed was creative. Yeah, like the Tharagar in Chozo Ruins. I haven't beaten the game yet, but I like the bosses thus far. Oh, I have occasionally done things like this, and I guess you could have seen it in my Star Fox 64 or Later Wars review. But I did occasionally have a habit of reviewing games that I hadn't completed. I even did a similar thing for Chrono Trigger back in 2012 on YouTube, but that was on an old channel. I was only halfway through Chrono Trigger, and I put up on YouTube what I thought of it. To be fair, both for Metroid Prime and Chrono Trigger, and I guess Layout Wars, the thoughts still were pretty much the same, but I should have completed the game before offering a proper opinion. At least I can play games now. Yeah, so I like the bosses thus far. The moment you got through the first force field, learning the controls, the spell was cast. That actually was what prompted me to buy the game. Like I remember, again, reading reviews from Metroid Prime and also Metroid Fusion, and I thought, well, I want to get both those Metroid games. Even though I hadn't really played Metroid games before or whatever, I just thought, oh, these games look fun. When getting both of those games, there was a display or demo or something, and I played the demo of Metroid Prime, which was on, like the first part of the game, and you would learn the controls and stuff. And yes, I remember just learning the controls and exploring that space station on the demo was great, as if I wasn't excited enough to play the game already. But of course, when I took the game home and played it, well, the rest is history. I was hooked and still am as I write this. Okay, it's rewarding and compelling. Now, I think I've taken up a lot of space. Yeah, my one was a lot longer, was a fair bit longer than the others. Yeah, I guess it was. But anyway, so one last sentence. Thanks for listening and happy GameCubing. With the pseudonym Samus's brother. That last happy GameCubing? Samus's brother. Okay. Wow. I mean, I still do like the GameCube, especially its games anyway. I mean, I've still played the GameCube games on the Wii and all that sort of thing. And the GameCube, I think in ways was an underrated system. It has quite a few of my favourite games ever. And I even got to properly play games such as, Paper Mario 1000 Year Door and that. But happy GameCubing. What? Samus's brother. Well, at least I'm glad that Hyper published that. So if you're watching this, any of you who used to work at Hyper, thank you. And thank you for, in retrospect, being a great magazine. And Metroid Prime's still my favourite game of all time. I mean, some games like Chrono Trigger and stuff come close, but Metroid Prime's still on the throne for me. Wow. So, thank you for watching or perhaps listening. If you wrote any reviews in your childhood or whatever, feel free to talk about that in the comments below. I'll see if I can find any more reviews I may have written. Let me know if you want me to do another video about that. Very likely I won't, but I will see you soon for more reviews. They are coming. So until then, have a good day or night or whatever it is. Bye!